time, we have defensive coordinator Zach Alley. Questions for Coach Alley? Greg?
So Zach, it's not your first opener, but still, for a coach or openers, do you have a ton of questions on your defense for openers, or after this amount of time, you think you've got a pretty good handle on things?
I've got a pretty good feel for who we are, and what we're going to be. Obviously, we got a lot of guys who've never played here. I don't know if we have anybody on defense, that started more than maybe 2 games here, 3 games overall. I don't know that for sure, but somewhere in that number. So just excited to see how those guys, perform. Some guys come from schools where there's 65,000 people out there screaming. Some guys, they had no fans in front of them, so it's just, it depends a little bit on how they're going to react and how they'll take in the environment of what they get on game day. But as far as the ability, how I feel like we can play and, kind of how we're putting the pieces together, I feel pretty good about where we're at from that standpoint.
Do normally the openers follow with what you thought through the preseason, or sometimes they go completely off script?
It depends on the guy. I think sometimes it's exactly how you drew it up, and then other times, you learn a lot in those first couple days. I think this might be the least I know about an opposing team the first game. I don't know how many transfers they got in, but it's close to how many we had, and so you're looking at a whole new offense basically of guys we're thinking might start, so I think from at least from a personnel standpoint, it's definitely a little different than maybe normal, where you used to have a better feel because you could watch film from the year before and you felt like you knew the team and who was coming. And in today's world, probably just a product of the portal, the whole team's new. So we're trying to figure out, we'll know who the running back is, I guess, the first play, and figure it out from there.
Well, I was going to say, because there's so many unknowns, I guess it's on your guys to be able to adjust on the fly. Whatever the plan is may not be the plan, depending on what they do, right?
Absolutely. I think we've got certain things we call that, I feel are good to anything. You should be able to adjust to whatever they bring, whatever they come out in. Even though obviously you're going to game plan some things and try and, execute at a better level than them. That's kind of the goal in the first game is, you're not going to know everything you're going to see, so you better be able to adjust to anything.
What can Justin Harrington bring to your unit? What have you seen from him, I guess, in the early part of his being able to practice now?
Yeah, Justin got all spring, so I got to see him play in the spring. He was with me at Oklahoma for the spring I was there, so I'm pretty familiar with Justin, his ability level, but tough kid. He'll hit you. He's long, brings a lot of range and size back there on the back end, and he's very versatile. You can use him a lot of places. He can cover in space. He can fit in the box. He can blitz off the edge. He can play the post. He can play man-to-man. So good to have him back and get the kind of versatility you can use him for.
Coach, where are you now that the season's about to kick off in terms of what you wanted to accomplish once you took the job, spring, fall camp? How would you grade all of that throughout the offseason and where you are now, and with the teams, how much have they caught on, skill level that you've noticed, et cetera?
Yeah, I think that, picking up the scheme and some of the things that are required to be good in this defense, I feel like we've probably exceeded my expectations of some of those things. I still believe we're learning to grow and play as a defense overall. Your goal would be to be better week 6 than you are week 1. There's a lot of guys who don't have meaningful in-game experience, at least, not at West Virginia. And so you want to get those guys to continue to grow, continue to get better from, Saturday on to the end of the year. So hopefully that, you feel better about where we are game, 8, 9, 10, 11 than you do game 1, 2, 3.
Wilson and Carrico, the 2 guys you're going to lean on the field as far as getting everybody where they need to be and what you want done?
Yeah, I think, not just them, every linebacker in this room, anybody that's out there, if you play linebacker in this system, your job is to get everybody lined up, to communicate, to hold them to a standard. If they're not lined up right, you fix it. If they don't have the call, you get them the call. And that's what All-Americans do. If you want to be the best at that spot, that's who they got to be. And obviously Reed and Chase bring a lot to that. So does, Ben and Ashton and all the rest of the guys in there. I feel good about that. And that's certainly something that's been emphasized. So they know that that's the expectation.
So it's not one guy, it's the group.
Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff happening out there, and it's going fast. So everyone's got to talk.
You mentioned Chase Wilson's name. Coach Rodriguez highlighted him a bit on radio show yesterday. Do you have anything like you could add today on just like what you have seen from Chase, what he brings to the table, some of the things you're happy about with him being in your linebacker room?
You can tell he's played a lot of ball. His understanding of the game is really high. Football intelligence, the anticipation of what's coming. You can tell he's been in situations where that's happened to him before, and so he understands the why behind a lot of the things we do. And nobody works harder than that man. I mean, he's up here every day. 6, 7, 8 hours it feels like. I always see him in the meeting room, always see him in the training room, always see him in the weight room, like doing all the things he needs to be successful. So he should be a great player, a great vocal leader for us. All those things, coming up. Hopefully, we'll see that starting Saturday.
Who are your eyes up on the field, up on the box? Who are you going to use for your eyes?
We move. I've got a couple of the analysts up there, full-time coach, and the iPads changed everything. It used to be you better have 4 or 5 guys up there drawing up cards and trying to figure out where everybody was, and now you just get handed the iPad and you can tell. So that takes a little bit of the post-series stress off of you as far as, or did that hit? Did that go in the A gap, the B gap? How did we miss that? Now you can see it exactly and get it fixed. I think it's funny the players have become so reliant on that. First thing they get is, I'm gonna see the iPad. I'm gonna see the iPad. They want to see the series and correct whatever went wrong. So that's changed a little bit of the communication process, I think, as far as in between series trying to get things fixed. So the guys go up. They just kind of helping me during the series itself.
Zach, you mentioned what you don't know. What do you know about Robert Morris? I mean, is there anything, like, do you study their OC, what he's done, or is there anything you can be sure about?
Yeah, you look at the guys they have coming back, which I think there's 3 guys that played snaps that are back on their offense. The quarterback started the last game, at least the one, assuming he's the quarterback coming out of camp. He started the last game last year, so you can see a little bit of the personnel that way. So we've got kind of a feel for those guys, and then we've looked at what Robert Morris did last year and what the coordinator has done where he's been and kind of blended those, and I'm sure we'll see some kind of combination of those two things because they did have some success at Robert Morris last year doing what they did, and so I'm sure there'll be a blend of the two systems.
Will this be the hardest scout of the year, you think?
Probably, because you just don't know anything. I think the rest of the year, at least you got a game to watch, and you can get some information that way. But as far as not knowing what's going to happen going into a game, it's probably the most I've ever had.
Do you do a trick play circuit a little bit just to go over some things that may pop up that a team might try on you?
Oh yeah, we'll do. I'll prepare them for all scenarios. Every personnel group we could see, every type of trick play, every motion shift, speed huddle breaks, tempo is something we see every day, so that's not really a problem for us. But you just kind of prepare them not only to play this game but the season, day in and day out. Just, hey, this could happen, and you got to use your rules and apply the rules here and execute the defense.
And I guess your guys up top got to be mindful of personnel, who's on the field and what could possibly
I was
who could slip out there.
I was joking with him in the meeting today. I was like, we don't even know what the numbers are for some of the guys going to come out. So like I said, I hope we know which one the running back is and which one the receiver is. So hopefully that can get communicated quickly.
I know it'd be something every week, but is there any sense of an extra emphasis on what John is bringing up of trick plays or trying to catch somebody sleeping? Because in a wild upset like this would be, that's usually how it would happen. That's how it's happened historically if you get a big upset.
I pretty much work every trick play every team we play has every week. I mean, you don't want to give up the chunk play, easy ones. So you're trying to test your guys' rules. I'm not trying to rep things that are easy. I'm trying to rep things that are hard. That when they get out there, these are the challenging things that come up in a game versus, hey, it's 1st and 10 inside zones to the base call. We run it to every day in practice.
Not too long ago, there were 10 assistant coaches. You might have a GA on offense, a GA on defense to help you. Now at the game, like you said, you might have 2 or 3 coaches per position group, plus other guys. Is there a danger of too many voices at times? And did you practice that? How did y'all work that? And I'm specifically thinking of the Beanie Bowl this week.
I think the number one thing is having an overall vision, that Coach Rod instills in the program of how we're going to play and what we're going to do. And then it's my job on our side of the ball to schematically get the coaches in line with that. I'm not afraid to, they say leadership's lonely. I'm not afraid to get on somebody's butt if I don't like how it's going. And the same thing's true, if there's a better way to do things than what I'm saying or what I've done, I have no problem. I got no ego about it. We'll do it like that. So I think there's been pretty clear communication from the top down, just as far as all the assistants, the GAs, analysts, those type of guys that, they know exactly what I'm telling the players, what I want to get done, and they're relaying that to them. They're all in the meeting room with me, and they hear what I have to say, and that's ultimately my job, is to get them all in line to do what it takes to win.
Have there been a time in a game though where you said, "Hey, don't anybody say anything right now. I need to get this across or focus on this issue"?
Oh yeah, actually, most of the time during the game, everybody else but me is quiet. I'm handling most of it, other than substitutions. The coaches will do a good job of that, but I'm the loud one on game day most of the time because I'm calling the plays. I know what I'm anticipating, what I'm thinking, and as much as I wish all of them could read my mind all the time, they can't. So it's just easier if I yell it out there.
You mentioned when I asked about Chase a little bit earlier, the high IQ and the experience playing lots of snaps. And that goes for other players, I'm sure, on this defense too, some of the transfers. How important is that when you're putting in a new system like this and a new program and you're rebuilding a roster mostly from scratch to have players that have a high IQ and lots of snaps at the collegiate level?
I think it helps. I don't think it matters if you're in year 1 or year 4. The more experience you have, usually the better the guys play. The moments aren't as big for them, and the reps of just doing it over and over and over and over again. If you told me a guy's got 10 reps or a guy's got 10,000 reps, I'd rather have the guy with 10,000 because he's got a better chance of executing that the same way. And when you bring guys in like a Chase Wilson that's played a lot of times it correlates. It's not oh my gosh, we never run, Sam Fire cover 3. No, we did that everywhere I've ever been. So there's some correlation to how the fits and the eyes and the different parts of the game play. So I think it's very valuable to have guys with experience and reps anywhere they've been.
Zach, understanding you're not an offensive coach, but there's a big difference between how a defensive coordinator would substitute players than like Rich does. How do you handle that as far as getting a lot of guys in there, just in the normal course, not just get the third team in the fourth quarter Saturday, but and then with regard to the other team's personnel and making sure that your packages are aligned right, so that you have the right people who can do what those situations ask.
Yeah, situation dictates it first. Just because you're not the starter doesn't mean you're not going to play 50% of the plays. Everybody that earns the right to play will play. If you're a guy I can count on, I feel like can help us execute, you'll get in the game. If you're a guy that grades 25% all the time, it's hard for me to play you. And I think on Hard Knocks, I think they said that like a year or two ago. So if you don't know consistently what to do, you can't get put in a game. And that's the truth for our guys as well. Everybody earns the right to play. Some positions that is 50-50. And I know the second series, so-and-so is going in the game no matter what happens because he's earned that right. And even though he can't go out there on the first rep because everybody's, at the end of the day, you can only play 11. Everybody can't be the starter, but everybody can prepare to play that way. So it varies by position, who's earned the right and who hasn't, and how much that looks like, how much I can trust you. And then obviously as you get into the season, the more you play and do well, the more you earn the right to get out there, both on defense and on special teams. That's a big deal for me is, guys who make plays on special teams probably make plays on defense, and so all that matters as far as guys being able to get out there and execute the calls. And so that's my biggest thing to my players is always that, just because you don't get to run out there first doesn't mean you won't play 70 snaps in this game, and you never know when a guy rolls an ankle and you got to go in.
Number that you apply to practice, 3.
Go ahead, John.
I was just saying the turnover number that you apply to practice, 3. Is that the barometer for games too?
Yes. So you look at 3 a game, you should be top 10 in the country most years.
Okay, so below that is unsuccessful. Above that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
In a game like this, where you're playing someone you don't know, a non-power 14, you don't even know yourself very well, who is the opponent? Is it the other team, or are you playing really against yourselves?
I think you're always trying to focus on you. Winners focus on themselves, and losers tend to focus on everybody else, everything else around them. So we have to not beat ourselves. You know, West Virginia can't be West Virginia. And that's true whether it's the first opponent of the season we don't know anything about or it's the last opponent and we've played 12 games. You know, if you create turnovers, you take care of the ball on offense, on defense, you know, you rally and you tackle and you prevent third down conversions, those type of things, you usually win. And so I think those are things we control, you know, more than anything else.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.